Hey everyone, welcome back. I am also back in front of the camera. Before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the very sweet comments that you left for me in the last video, which was my first time in front of the camera, and you guys were so sweet and said that I did really good. So thank you so much for that. I actually got so confident from all your sweet comments that I decided to get back in front of the camera today. I might end up getting addicted to the spotlight. I don't know, we'll see. So I'm sitting here in my little studio and I am going to do another beginner's video for you today. In the last video I also asked if you would please tell me what it is that you want me to show you. When I was new, it was so difficult to learn things, basically. So many things I wanted to learn, but no one really showed it on YouTube. So you guys had so many great ideas. I made up a whole list from all the things you wanted me to show you. You asked about flowers and roses, which I'm going to do today, and how to make individual petals. You asked about different techniques. You asked about varnish and framing, and I just made up a really long list, and I'm gonna start getting through that list with a lot of new videos. Today I'm gonna do my own little version of a very abstract rose. I'm gonna add some metallics to it, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I'm gonna check one more thing off the list. I get so many questions about the container that I use for my isopropyl. Also, a lot of people ask about this on Facebook. So I'm gonna zoom in on this so that you can see it up close, and then I'm gonna get started on my rose. And if you've come up with more stuff that you would like me to do, just leave a comment below the video, and I will add it to my list. So this is the containers that I use for my isopropyl. I found these, I think maybe a year ago in a Danish store. That's where I buy most of my stuff. So I can't tell you if you're in the States or wherever you are. I can't tell you specifically where to find these. But I'm thinking Amazon craft stores. I have seen other people use these, so it should be possible to find them. I used to use some cheaper containers, and they weren't very good. Where you screw the cap on, they started leaking, and these do not do that. They have this tiny little needle tip. You can see that on camera. Very tiny, which makes it very easy to control how much ISO you get down on your paper. This is sort of, it's hard plastic. I just pour it straight into, screw this on really tight, and nothing really leaks or anything. This is by far the best I've ever tried. I also use these for my metallics. Just remember, if you put your metallics in this, shake it really well before you pour it in here. But again, the same thing. It's very easy to control how much metallic you get out. If you just want one tiny little drop, this is so much easier to use than straight out of the bottle, where one drop can often be way too much. So I really like these, and my absolute favorite. So I'm gonna get started on this little abstract rose. I'm gonna mix in my ink in a little plastic container with my isopropyl. I'm using 99%. You could also use 91. I'm going to add a little bit more of this, shake it up really well. I'm also going to be using some brass, which you also have to remember to shake really well. As I go along with this rose, I'm actually going to keep adding more isopropyl. But you need to start with just a tiny little amount. So pour this onto your paper, make a little puddle, and then if you want it to be a little bigger than it is, you just tilt the paper a tiny little bit. Be careful, or it's going to run away from you like it almost did here. So sort of make this into the size that you want the rose to be. I'm adding a little ISO and then just 2 little drops of the brass. You sort of realize, and you can see here, I'm already adding more ISO. You do need quite a bit of ISO in there in order to work with it for a while, otherwise it's going to dry too fast. So what you're going to do is you're going to push the ink from the outside and in towards the middle, and you're going to do this in different directions. Change the direction and just push it from one side to the other. And when you get it over to one side and start pushing it back again, the edge of the ink will start to dry and it will create this beautiful line. When you feel like you can't move it as much anymore, you just add a little ISO. Again, this works a little bit better with a darker color. If you're using a much lighter color, you have to be careful not to dilute it too much. You will end up with no color. So it works a little bit better with the darker colors. And every time you can't move it as much anymore, you just add a little bit of ISO. And you just keep working it sort of from one side to the other, creating the shape that you kind of want. And you can see when I first put down the brass, it didn't really look like much. But when you start working with it, the brass really sort of pops up to the surface and ends up at the edge of where your ink dries, and you create these beautiful, beautiful lines with your metallic. Now I do have a little bit of heat on my hairdryer. If you want more time to work with the ink and move it around, or if you're using a much lighter color and you don't want to add too much ISO, you might find it a bit better if you're using cold air. It gives you more time to move the inks around. I'm sort of used to having a little bit of heat, but cold air if you feel like you need more time. Now you can keep moving this around and creating all the lines you want, really. You can make it, you keep working till you have like a tiny little center. I feel like this is starting to look pretty good, so I think I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more ISO, make maybe 1 or 2 little lines. I don't want a really tiny little center, but I'm really liking the lines that are on this now. And it looks beautiful with the brass. You can do this without metallics, but I feel like it just adds a little something extra. I hope you have fun trying this. Really good, I think, beginner way of making lines. Just remember to work from the outside and in towards the middle. If you're sort of a little hooked on trying flowers, I have a couple of other videos with some very different flowers than this one, if you would like to try. Look at that brass. That's sort of my version of a very abstract rose. I hope you enjoyed this little video. I am already working on a couple of more, checking off all your stuff from my list, and I hope to see you back again real soon, and have fun with your inks.